It's Spencer with Chile, Colorado Ranchita, and we planted out our seed snail into this bed last week, and I'm now going to mulch it. We use mulch in the garden for three reasons, pretty much. One is to hold in the moisture so we don't have to water as much. Two is to keep the weeds down so we don't have to weed as much. And the third reason is to keep soil from splashing up onto the plants when it rains, and that helps to keep disease down. So I'm going to use straw on these plants today and just give them a little bit of mulch. So here we go. I got the straw sitting right here. This is actually straw from last year, and we just raked it up from a different bed, and it will be fine for this one. One thing to think about for mulch is the thickness. We want it at least a couple inches thick so that it can suppress the weeds. Sometimes you can go as deep as 6 inches, but for these guys, since they're kind of small, I'm going to just go a couple inches deep. So to tuck it around the plant. What you don't want is any of these straw pieces to be touching the plant stem, because that could keep moisture trapped against the stem and cause some rotting problems. Really, that's as simple as it is. You just tuck it around. You can use leaf mulch as well. We had some leaves, fall leaves from last year, ran them through a chipper shredder and made leaf confetti. You can use that as a mulch as well, or even green grass clippings. Those are really important to keep away from the plant stems. I'll go ahead and do the rest of this bed and show you what it looks like after. I just wanted to show another mulching option. We shredded these leaves into this leaf confetti and mulched these onions and brassicas yesterday, and they look much happier already. Basically, mulching is just using what you have available, and straw, leaves, grass, any of that makes them seem a lot happier. Look at these guys, they look greener already.
Hi, it's Mara from Chile, Colorado Ranchita, and today we're talking staking and trellising. Spencer's mulched this bed beautifully, and we're going to take the next step. Before we get into it, I wanted to basically talk about the basics of staking and trellising. You are going to want to be thinking about the plant, what its habits are, what its actual fruit is going to be, how heavy and how much reinforcements they're going to need. And that determines what kind of trellising or staking you're going to use. So something like a squash is going to get a heavy duty T-post. We're doing this for the first time this year. We've thought about it for years, and now we're going to try it. Heavy zucchini requires a heavy staking. And then there's all sorts of things that you can use. Basically, it boils down to, like with the mulch, use what you have. So you could also use bamboo poles for things that are a little lighter weight, like peppers, or even just a hardwood stake if you've got those kicking around. And then there's all sorts of different kinds of garden architecture that you can buy for sure. Anything from a tomato cage to a pepper ladder or tomato ladder like this one. So use what you have, think about what the plant requires, and go from there. And we'll show you some examples today. So I'm going to start with some squash trellising. This year we're going to use a T-post, which is a pretty heavy duty, and it might feel like overkill at the start, but it's important to get your staking in the ground before the plant is super established, because you don't want to disturb the roots later. That'll damage the plant even more than not staking it. So I'm going to hammer this T-post in. One of the things to think about with T-post is it's got this little a plate like a third of the way up. That needs to be below surface, so that's sort of what you're aiming for. That makes it more stable. And then later we're going to do some actual pruning videos and talk about how to get it attached to your trellis, but that will be later when the fruit is, or at least the vine is quite a bit longer. So we just want to set it up for success for later. So I'm going to awkwardly get in my bed here. You can, if your bed is a raised bed, you can probably get it mostly in by pushing it with your hand, and then if you have a little baby mallet, that's going in there pretty good. That's pretty stable. That's pretty good for now. That's all there is to it. And then later we'll use some ties to tie the vine up, and we'll show you how to prune your squash. And this is a way to take your bed vertical, and that makes better use of the actual raised bed. So for peppers, we're just moving down the bed now. We've got our fish pepper and we've got our apple pepper, which is a lunchbox sweet pepper. The peppers are smaller and more compact than the zucchinis and squashes, so we are going to use lighter weight trellising for these. For the little fish pepper, it just needs a little bit of stability to help it when it's windy. It's a pretty compact plant, but just in case it gets loaded with fruit, which is what we're planning on, right? We want to make sure we have a little support nearby that we can lightly tie it to as it grows. With these bamboo stakes, you can really go deep with them with very little effort, but they're darn strong, so it's worth having a few on hand for this purpose. One of the other things we like to use are these ladders. You can use them for tomatoes or peppers. We love them for peppers and eggplant. They're about the same height. They require about the same support. This just keeps them going straight, and if it's windy at all where you are, it keeps them from flopping over when they're heavy with fruit. So they're very simple to put in the ground. I'm going to put it around this sweet pepper here, and it's just got a tripod essentially, and you just push it down. So the bottom rung needs to be on the surface and maybe just a little bit under the surface, and that gives it the stability. And that is it. The beautiful thing with peppers and trellising is once you get that trellis in place, you look away for 2 weeks and you come back and the peppers are already filling it out. So to try to put this in later is really frustrating. So it's really nice to get it in there when it's small. Now we're on to tomato trellising and staking. Everyone's got lots of opinions and techniques about doing tomato trellising and staking, so do we. It really depends on the situation that you have, the volume of tomatoes that you have, the space that you have. Because we have the seed snail bed here with the mixed use, it's a 4x8 bed, there's 2 tomatoes in it with all sorts of other plants. We decided that we're going to do just the good old trusty tomato cages with this one. They need a little bit of structure so that they don't get too unruly, and a tomato cage is really good for that. So we recommend the biggest tomato cages you can find. You can tell that this one is really tall. It's almost as tall as me. We will show you how to put it in the ground. It goes deeper than you think. I've seen a lot of people put tomato cages in and not utilize the full strength of a tomato cage by not putting it in deep enough. So we'll show you how to properly place the tomato cage. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. You can tell that it's really a good idea to do this when the tomato is young, because getting this around a fully grown tomato, which some of you may have done, is not fun. You're going to want to pull these apart a little bit, get it sort of centered around the tomato, and then you're going to squeeze it down, squeeze it down, squeeze it down, see if you can get it in. And the goal is going to be to get it so that the ring on the bottom is actually sitting on the surface of the soil, which will provide sort of a little bit more stability. Let's see if I can even get it in. Okay, that's in as far as we can get it. Ideally, this bottom ring would be on the surface, but if you can't quite get it that far down, then what you can do is you can always add a hardwood stake as additional reinforcement later, and you would pound it in right next to it and tie it to the cage, and that would give it additional stability. I know it seems like overkill right now. It is not. These tomatoes are going to get really big, and they're going to need the support when they get loaded with fruit so they don't flop over, and it'll make it easier for you to actually harvest all your amazing fruit.